I was having one of those frustrating days where everything was going wrong. People, places, things, technology, and I was about to fall on a heap on the floor. But then I did something completely different and it made all the difference.
Welcome to Be Brave. I'm Margie Simmons, and here at Be Brave, we help people discover lasting personal change through creativity, courage, and community. We believe that through practice and daily play in a culture of undeniable support, anyone can transform their mindset to be their most authentic and amazing self. So today, our topic is using gratitude to help us to defer judgment. Ooh, something new comes our way. What do? We fill it with gratitude. So Jenny made a choice in that moment. Instead of lying on the floor and just calling it a day, she decided to push gratitude into that moment, and it turned her day around. She's going to dive into that more. My friend Jenny Lillidahl is with me for the whole time together today, and we are just so excited to dive into this topic and hopefully give you a few tips and some small shifts that you can make right away. We want you to be able to try this and everything that we're talking about today. We've been working with people over the last 25 years, and so you'll be learning what they learned, and we'll be paying that forward today. So Jenny, sounds like you were having a bad
Yes.
day.
Yes. And it wasn't anything huge. It was a bunch of little things. But yes, that trick of gratitude. So let's talk about that judgment. We've talked about judgment before, the judgment voice, the critical voice, but the repetitiveness of judgment sometimes becomes a habit. And if we let that habit take over and let it be kind of an automatic response to things, pretty soon our all the time automatic response will be judgment. And so we use the phrase when we work with students and teams, we use the phrase defer judgment. And when you're unable to defer judgment, like I said, you get stuck in that resistance and that no phase and the kind of the closed mindset. And on an extreme level, it's depression, it's fear, it's sadness, all of those things. But on a daily level, it's really just being a Debbie Downer, you know? So you can end up pushing people away and being that person nobody wants to be around if you're constantly judging and constantly critiquing everything that happens. And then where it plays out in daily life, if something comes your way, if your automatic first response is always stop, no, resist, yuck, that's where your brain's going to go pretty naturally. So we have a little trick using gratitude to defer the judgment voice, or at least delay that and put it aside. Right, Margie?
Yes, and I love that you were saying how we just really believe that you are what you practice. So if you practice those things of saying no when something new comes your way, you're going to spend more time of your day in that resistance. So the opposite of that, of when it's working well, is instead of resistance, you may see possibility. If you practice, something new comes your way and you infuse that moment with gratitude, it opens up the possibility and your mindset. And what you're doing in that moment really is retraining your brain. You're retraining your brain to look for solutions. And we use this gratitude in a really open, honest, but more importantly, practical way. It's not you're so happy that something bad is happening to you. That's not the case at all. But we can get down to using gratitude on a really human level. And when we do that, it can help control our physiology. We can be happier, calm. We can be open to be supportive of those around us. And maybe if I tell a little example or a story, it will kind of show what I'm talking about. So I spent many years waiting tables and I always think of this example when I think of using gratitude to help us. So, if you went up to a table that you were waiting on, and you had just delivered their dinner, and you said, is everything okay? Is your chicken all right? And they say, yeah, it's fine. And you go away because you feel like you've been communicated that everything was fine, and the people pay and leave the restaurant, and they never said anything. So put that on pause. Now, same table, you go up to them and say, hey, how was your chicken tonight? And they say, well, actually, I ordered the sauce on the side because I have an allergy, and whatever it is. Then I can thank them, take that dish away, go make it right, bring it back, and have that satisfied person. We've all been on either side probably of this situation in some way, shape, or form. But back to that first story, if that person's sauce wasn't on the side, or they weren't happy, but they said it was fine, they go away and write a bad review about the restaurant, that could become a larger problem. So I use that as an example because when I go to the table and the chicken isn't right, I'm not happy that I have a problem I have to deal with. I'm not thanking them that somewhere along the line a mistake was made, but I am thanking them for staying in communication with me. When they stay in communication with me, then at least I can try to do something to help solve that problem. So even in those kind of instances that the stakes aren't very high usually, if you infuse that gratitude, then it becomes habitual, and you start to retrain your brain, and you're able to use that thank you piece when the stakes are higher.
I love that. And you've told me that story before, and one of the things I love that you say is thanking you for staying in communication. Mm-hmm. Because that is it. You're thanking the person for not completely discounting you or disconnecting, and staying there with you. And then it's diffusing as well. You've said that before as well, Margie, that the thank you diffuses the situation where they might be nervous to bring it up the truth. I know I have been when I've gotten something I don't like. It's like, oh, I don't want to be the customer that has to bring bad news. So it goes both ways, that the thank you also diffuses that energy of argument or the negativity. And I love too the pause. It puts a pause in there.
Yes.
Because that judgment part of your brain wants to dive in there and find everything that's wrong, or just shut it all out. And the thank you is a nice pause. And I can tie it to our improv work, because one of the things we talk about all the time in our trainings and our Be Brave classes is the idea that all ideas are gifts. And so when you get a gift from somebody, especially if it's a gift you like, you would say thank you, right? And be a good receiver. And we believe that you can practice that and apply it to other places in your life, not just receiving a gift, but someone gives you an idea. You thank them for the idea. Someone gives you information or stays in communication, like, you know what, the chicken wasn't that great. I wanted the sauce on the side. So that thank you again it not only acknowledges the person, but it truly does respect that they were able to share something with you that might have been hard for both people. And so when we're actually doing improv scenes and building stories and solving issues, that thank you is so critical, because it is higher stakes in some ways. We're in front of people and we're on stage and there's no script and we don't know what's going to happen. And if Margie comes up to me with an idea, I am only grateful for that little bit of information to help us move forward. And so this is one that we practice, and make it almost automatic. Put it automatic.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about what we should do first.
So we have 3 little things that we can give you to help you practice this gratitude tool, to help you defer judgment. And the first one is that thank you first. And we say thank you first instead of just thank you generically, because it's really important to set your brain into this thank you mindset. And what that does is it actually tells your brain, hey, I just received something. I'm saying thank you for it. So you're receiving proactively and positively something. So what your brain will do is it will want to look for the next positive thing. It will want to look for why it's thankful. As opposed to if the mindset was a mindset of no or resistance or the opposite of thank you, your brain's going to shut down and just stop and be in kind of a closed mindset. So the thank you is almost a trick. It pauses the brain from going into automatic judgment, and it sets your brain up to find the next positive thing. So we say thank you first. That's our first little tip.
Yes, and then we follow the thank you by finding the meaning, which means we get a little bit curious about what we can do with the information that we have just gotten or just received. And so as Jenny kind of spoke about how we are, when you go to that thank you, you use it as a tool. She said we practice it almost to make it automatic. We're using it as a tool, though. I want to clarify that rather than just have it be a Pollyannish, oh, thank you. Thank you for, some bad news or good news or whatever it is. We don't want it to be a throwaway. When you use thank you in an open, honest way, and whatever is your native language, neurology teaches us that it really does shoot you some chemicals to at least put you in that place of being open and maybe more solution-minded. So being able to have some forward momentum. The other thing that I'd like to touch on when we talk about this finding the meaning after we use the thank you is that sometimes that isn't an immediate gratitude or immediate finding the meaning that there is some perspective there. Sometimes you've received something and your immediate reaction might have been, ugh, I do not want this. This is a terrible thing in my life. And maybe then a week, a month, a year later, you gain some perspective and you realize that, oh, because that happened, that got me to this point that I'm at now. And now I can be grateful for that. We're just trying to shorten that up a little bit, using it as a tool, even if we might not have that perspective piece nailed down yet.
Good point. Good point, Margie. And then our third point is, and you're going to think we're a broken record because this is often going to be our third point, which is practice, practice, practice. The more you can do the actual behavior and practice it, the more likely you'll be able to do it during a really tough time. So we do exercises in Be Brave. We did one a few weeks ago on the video. Again, it's that almost retraining your brain to have the automatic response of the thank you. I have a friend who I was on a board with, and she almost always, when we got into a sort of a more serious or heated discussion, it was predictable that the first thing out of her mouth after someone talked and she wanted to make a comment was, thank you for your perspective. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for telling me your point of view. Thank you. It became almost her thing. And I just so appreciated that. And she's practiced at it. It's her automatic response. And the more you do it, so the more you can do it for yourself, even in silly little ways. Gosh, thank you for this stoplight right now. Because now I get to stop and turn the radio station or whatever. The more you can practice the actual physical behavior of doing it, the more it'll automatically come when you need it.
Oh, those are so great, Jenny. And I'm so glad we're talking about this today. I mean, over the last few months, I think we all have had moments of ups and downs probably, but also maybe being a little lost in, but what can I do? So I love today that we talked about kind of getting back to that really human level of communication. Even if you don't agree, thank you for your perspective, is still honoring that person that I want to stay in communication with you. I think that's so valuable. And if there's, even one little thing that we can take away from today, that definitely is something that we can practice. So in our summary for today is pretty simple. We are infusing gratitude into those moments where something unexpected comes our way. So we use thank you first, and then we focus on finding the meaning. So what is the gift in what I've been given? And then we repeat that, rinse and repeat that, practice, practice, practice. So tell us what are a couple things we can do, Jenny, to practice this week?
Yes, I think we should also find the meat too.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
Find the meeting. Find the meeting, find the meat, find the
Yeah,
meaning,
all of it.
find the meat.
Yes.
And finding the meeting, like we're doing that a lot with Zoom. We're finding the meetings. Yes,
Yeah, and
call to action.
shorten it up to meat. We're finding the meat. Nice to see you.
We're finding the meat. Hey, thank you for this summary, Margie. You're so good. I love listening to you. You're just gonna practice throwing that thank you in there. And I love what you said earlier, Margie, and this is a good reminder. It isn't meant to be Pollyanna. It's not, oh, thank you. In fact, sometimes when we do this exercise in our workshops, I have people also use their body to say thank you. Like, don't just let the words come out, but what would your body do with thank you? It would be like, thank you. It's that fake it till you make it thing. Again, we're just training. We're just trying on a new tool. We're just sharpening the tool every day and practicing so we have it available to us. And so try that this week. Please just try it, especially at a moment where it's something that you normally would resist and push away. Just pause and go, thank you. Pause again and just let it sit there and see what comes up. If nothing else, get curious about it and see what happens. And then please join the Facebook group. Please, 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 and post any experiences you're having, stories, questions, if there's things you want us to address, things you didn't understand. If you liked my shirt or you liked Margie's necklace, let us know. And please come back next week too, Margie.
Yes, and we will thank you for any correspondence or anything that pops up in our Facebook group. The last piece of homework that I would throw out, just to add to everything that Jenny said, if you use thank you, pay attention to how people react to that. See what you notice. See if it does diffuse anything. I'll be interested to see. I love hanging out with you, Jenny. It's super fun. I always learn so much from you. So remember, we are